Chairshot Reality on WrestleZone.com as well as YouTube.com/CSR Wrestling. We're getting closer and closer to WrestleMania. Make sure you join us at Sherlock's Pub on Friday, April 1st at noon. Josh and myself be doing a special filming. You can get yourself involved and put in your 2 cents as we predict WrestleMania. And then on Sunday, it is our annual WrestleMania pre-party. Matt Hardy will be joining us. $10 on the spot. You can get a picture with the former TNA champ and, of course, former WWE superstar. And there'll be a Q&A, which is free for all in attendance. We hope you enjoy the menu at Sherlock's Pub. It is a great one. You can go online and check it out. Justin LeBar, Josh Eisenberg, Brian Gulish. Gentlemen, let's talk about the build to some of these marquee matchups here at WrestleMania. Let's particularly look at which build is doing a better job of selling you on this match. Is it the Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose build, or is it the Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker inside a Hell in a Cell?
Longevity, I think, is the main reason that I'm more interested in Shane versus The Undertaker now, but I do think that's going to change because I do think there's a lot of history that they could be doing with this match, but they're not doing it for some reason. And that's bothersome because you have all hands on deck with such a lackluster roster, like you mentioned a couple of segments ago. So you think that they would go the extra mile, do whatever they need to do to get the most out of the history of The Undertaker, the McMahons, Stephanie. I mean, all of them. They could bring back so much, but they're not doing it. But since Dean Ambrose was a big part of Roadblock in the Triple H focus, we're just getting the idea right now of Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar and what they can accomplish.
Well, I mean, I think when you look at this match with Dean Ambrose, Brock Lesnar, I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be one hell of a match, the potential, because of the part that Dean Ambrose plays in this. I'm not scared. I'm going to play the mind games with you. I'm going to play the mind games with Heyman. I think that's a great build. But I think that we have not seen anywhere near the tip of the iceberg for Shane and Undertaker for the fact that there's going to be so many surprises in that match. WWE's holding it out. Go home show, maybe we get a hint. But you have Austin. You have Michaels. You have so many others. You have The Rock, and he's apparently calling his shots on what he wants to do, so he might just show up for no damn reason, and I don't know. But
right now, I am much more excited and more impressed with the build of Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar.
You're more impressed.
I'm more impressed with Dean Ambrose and Brock Lesnar, and that makes me mad. I'm mad because I want to be more excited about the uniqueness of Shane McMahon versus The Undertaker inside Hell in a Cell with Shane McMahon getting control on the line. But I feel like they're tiptoeing and on like some kind of weird eggshells, like you alluded to. I feel like they're not diving in as much as they could. But whereas this Brock Lesnar versus Dean Ambrose, I literally am getting antsy every day as I look at that countdown clock that's going to Mania. I'm getting antsy and excited for this is going to be a freaking car wreck. And I mean that in the most beautiful, impressive way. This is going to be, I mean, the touch of Mick Foley passing on the barbed wire bat was a great element.
But why?
This is going to be
why is he passing it on? It's not like Mick Foley's ever faced Brock Lesnar. It's not like Mick Foley's ever.
But the thing with Dean, but you go back to the
pat-
airport.
it's
Go
a-
back to the
it's a-
airport with Dean and Mick Foley a couple years
He's
ago.
yeah, that's true.
He's
That's right,
passing it on because Mick Foley is as crazy as it gets, and he's saying you're going to have to be as crazy as possible to take on Brock Lesnar. And I think, quite honestly, here's what I love about the build so much. Not only because I can't wait to see how violent this gets. I like the build because I'm really starting to believe that Dean Ambrose is going to win this
Wouldn't
match.
it make more sense, though, for Mick Foley to give that barbed wire bat to Shane McMahon?
Yes, I can. I
why
can
wouldn't
see the.
they
I can
do
see
that,
the.
Justin?
I can see where you're
Because
going
they're
with that, but
saving-
it's certainly applicable to this as well.
They're-
Because I'll tell you why. Sorry to cut you off, but I'll tell you why. Because Shane and Taker, because it has all the hoopla with Hell in a Cell and there's Vince and there's Stephanie. Why bring Foley? Foley adds just that little element just by making the cameo to give that back to Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose, I'm starting to feel like he's going to win this match.
I don't know.
That's crazy talk, I know, but I'm actually starting to think he's got more of a chance than I was giving him 4 weeks ago.
He definitely has more of a chance because, again, it's no holds barred. So when you have no holds barred, you have anything goes.
Yeah.
He could do so much in this match. He could do something. He could drop the damn Megatron from above Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
But I go back to the Undertaker Shane thing. One person we haven't talked about, and I said it should be Undertaker's retirement match. Kane. What about Kane? Kane could be
I know.
used to either go against The Undertaker or help The Undertaker.
Or even just appear and talk to The Undertaker or talk to Shane. He had so much history with Shane McMahon. Obviously, he had so much history with The Undertaker. There's so much history that they're not even touching
Well,
right
what
now.
do we
I
have
just
left?
don't
Philly and
understand it.
Brooklyn? Philly and Brooklyn. That's the last two Raws. You're going to have hot
Philly's tomorrow
crowds.
night.
Crowds that probably are a little bit hotter than Pittsburgh when it comes to the quote-unquote smart fans, as LeBar would say. But I definitely think that those two shows, I don't necessarily think the go-home show should be better than this one we're going to see Monday night.
Well, the go-home show is always video packages and a few matches. We know that, right? So Philadelphia has to be big. The last time they've had Philadelphia Raws or pay-per-views,
Look at
Reigns
Royal
won
Rumble,
the title.
boot them out the building.
Exactly.
What's interesting, I've been saying this for a couple years. I started saying this a few years ago on radio, and I still stick with it. I always say that the Raw that is 2 Raws out, which is tomorrow night, the one that is 2 out from WrestleMania, is always the biggest hit or miss. It is either really, really good or really, really bad. And the only reason I can deduce of why I found this trend, it's always one or the other, is because as Mania is such a long build, and then it's even longer and more bizarre when you throw Roadblock into it this year. Because that Mania build is so long, it comes to, they know where they want to be for the go-home show. They know exactly what they're going to do for the go-home. But then sometimes it comes to that week before to where they run into one of 2 situations. Either they don't have anything to do because they've already blown their load, so to speak, on everything else, and everything's done, and they're just kind of like, well, we got to get through these 3 hours. Or it's a case of where
Great analogy.
Or it's talking about Charlotte.
Or it's a case of where they're behind and they're like, wow, we got to get this, and this done, and it's just an action-packed Raw. So I'll be very interested to see what the Shane Taker gets.
Well, who's booked on Monday?
I don't know.
Everybody, I don't even think Lesnar's booked, is he?
There is still.
I think tomorrow's going to be a lot of focus on the undercard.
There's still
and that's a problem, though.
There's so many pieces to fill in for WrestleMania. Like you said a few weeks ago, they still don't know what's going to happen.
With The Rock, with Stone Cold, with all
With
these
anybody,
pieces,
with Michaels, with everybody.
And that's whenever we talked last. I don't want to see all of these people involved in 1 or 2 matches. Maybe like a little backstage.
Yeah,
here
but
and
for
there.
as bad as I'm not going to say WrestleMania is going to be bad. It's going to live up to expectations. Don't worry, it's going to be good. But the last match of the night will indeed, I think, be that match between Shane and Undertaker. And why not end the show with a big bang boom, a stunner, a rock bottom, sweet chin music, bring out Kane.
As we close out, I'll tell you what will be interesting though. Because again, we continue to debate, and we'll debate it even more of what the match order will be, specifically of the 3 marquee matches. What will be very interesting to see is if Brock and Taker does not go, or excuse me, if Taker and Shane does not go on last in Hell in a Cell. If they go on, if they're the first or if they're the second marquee match to go on. What if that cell comes back down later on? What if the title match is last? What if that cell comes back down? Or what if Shane and Taker actually ends up being the first of the 3 marquee matches in the evening?
No
What if
holds
that-
barred goes
What if that
into the
cell
cell?
goes down for Brock and Ambrose? So there's so much potential, and I love it. But again, this build, the Shane and Taker, really disappointed me. But it is what it is. We'll, of course, be live tweeting all Monday night long, as we do, at Brian Gouldge, at Josh Eisenberg 4, at Justin LeBar on Twitter. So make sure you chime in on the conversation. Getting closer and closer. We hope to see you at Sherlock's Pub every single year. You can go on our YouTube channel every single year. WrestleMania parties are always a blast. You can see some of the highlights from the past couple years. Until next week, bye-bye.